You know, I just don't get it. When is the AC getting here? I ordered it off Amazon 30 minutes ago. It should be here already. This is it. Amazon? Hey everybody, welcome back to Browntable, a channel in which I occasionally get naked. So today we're going to talk about a movie. It's just a little tiny movie called Spider-Man Far From Home. Twitter is having a gigantic war because of this movie. It's like you just go onto the feed and you see people, hey, I like this thing, and also the next tweet is, go f*** yourself because you like that thing. No one can have a civilized discussion, not even I can. Whenever I go on Twitter, I decide I want to attack everybody in my vicinity. That's why I locked myself in this room. But then I took a closer look and I decided to pay attention to what these people were arguing about, and what most people are arguing about is the representation of Spider-Man in this film. I did want to take the time in this video to create the perfect Spider-Man. Now, step one, it's impossible. You can't create the perfect Spider-Man. Everyone will be mad. Dan Slott wrote Spider-Man comic books. Everyone hates Dan Slott because that's not Spider-Man, but when I read it, I was like, yeah, that's Spider-Man, I see Far From Home, that's not Spider-Man to me, but to some people it's like, yeah, that's Spider-Man. We all have opinions. So on Twitter, in one of the group chats I'm in, Alex linked this video called Spider-Man and the Uncertain Future with either Marvel's MCU or Sony's Venom. I am reading that off somewhere. Yes, I don't have perfect memory. The video is by The Midnight's Edge. By the way, this is all speculation. This could be a thing, or this could not be a thing, but I'm acting as if it is like an actual thing. There's actually these news headlines that are coming out that are saying if Spider-Man Far From Home doesn't make $1 billion, then the rights for Spider-Man revert back to Sony. And I'm pretty sure in the video it stated that that's an agreement that Sony and Marvel Disney came up with for Spider-Man, but I'm pretty sure that in the same video it says that that could be an old contract, so we don't really know. But let's say this is the contract. If Spider-Man Far From Home doesn't gross $1 billion at the box office, that means that the rights to the character go back to Sony, and then the MCU is left with no Spider-Man. I'm gonna play a segment of this video because the dude's better explaining than I am, so.
Any character from the Spider-Man license that Sony puts into a Marvel co-produced Spider-Man movie, they give Marvel a stake in. If and when it expires, all Spider-Man related characters that were in those movies will be disputed and subsequently frozen.
The video further explains that, for example, if the Spider-Man movies wanted to use Mary Jane or Harry Osborn like they are in the comics, these characters would be frozen, like previously stated. To get around this, characters like MILF Aunt May and Michelle and Ned were created as they differ so much that they can be considered new characters with similar traits.
That's actually really scary. All this legal shit hurts my brain. So we're gonna act like this doesn't exist, and we're just gonna fix the shit out of these movies just to try and please every Spider-Man fan. Let's see if it's possible. Spider-Man PS4 did it. Can't be that hard. Let's go for it. Now before I start, I don't want to hurt any feelings, but let me just say that what I want to do here is mostly please the Raimi fans, because I feel like they are the ones that are the most vocal about hating the movie.
Gonna cry?
So yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Spider-Man
Homecoming. There's one scene in the movie, right almost at the beginning, in which Spider-Man, Peter, goes into his room and Ned sees Spider-Man, right? He's like, "You're the Spider-Man!" So Peter's freaking out here because he doesn't want Aunt May to know that he's Spider-Man. Peter literally says in this scene,
"You know what she's like, if she finds out people try and kill me every single night, she's not gonna let me do this anymore. May cannot know. I cannot do that to her right now. And everything that's happened with her, please."
That's a great line. All you had to do to please fans was actually just say, Uncle Ben. That's all you had to do. Now, this doesn't break the movie at all. It actually adds to the Spider-Man character if you think about it, because that means that he has a previous father figure. He lost him. Aunt May and him are actually dealing with loss. And now Peter Parker is actually having a new father figure emerge with Tony Stark, and that's kind of beautiful and sad at the same time. That's an angle the movie could have played, but it doesn't, and that's fine. But just by name-dropping Uncle Ben, you could have pleased a heck of a lot of people, and it costs nothing. Also, real quick, onto Far From Home's bad writing.
You know what she's like, if she finds out people try and kill me every single night, she's not gonna let me do this anymore.
If you spot something like that happening, you turn and you run the other way.
Spider-Man!
Toothpaste? Pack your suit.
On to the next scene. There's this great scene in which Peter and Aunt May are having dinner in this restaurant in Queens, and it actually looks like a restaurant in Queens. That's why I love it so much. It actually looks like a Brooklyn, Queens restaurant. In this scene, I would actually pad it out a little bit. I want to get to know this Aunt May character just a little bit more. There's this specific scene in which Peter talks about how he lost a backpack. He's like, "Aunt May, I lost a backpack. I need a new one." And Aunt May just says, "You lost another one? Isn't that 5? That's it. That's all the conversation they have.
I need a new backpack.
That's 5.
What I would do in this scene to make it more authentic Spider-Man is have Aunt May say, "I don't know what's going on with you, but could you maybe not lose so many backpacks? Because I can't really afford having to buy you backpacks every week." Obviously, maybe better written than that, but that adds two things. One, Spider-Man is actually under financial stress, and two, Peter is actually Spider-Man a lot of the time, because if he loses one every week, holy shit, he lost 5 bags in a little more than a month. Now here's another scene I found a little weird in Homecoming. It's one of the last scenes of the movie in which Peter talks to Liz. It's pretty much Liz's goodbye scene. The biggest problem for me with this scene is that Peter and Liz leave on good terms. So here's the shit that Liz has gone through. Peter has ditched her, and her dad is a wanted criminal who is now behind bars. She should be feeling pretty terrible. And to top it all off, she has to leave school to Oregon. Here's how she treats Peter.
Liz, look, I'm so sorry.
You say that a lot. What are you sorry for this time? The dance? That, was a pretty crappy thing to do.
Well, yeah, but I mean, your dad,
I guess we're moving to Oregon. Dad doesn't want us here during the trial. Bye, Peter.
Now what I would have done, and I feel like the movie should have done this, but it didn't, and that's perfectly fine. I mean, maybe they had like another idea. I feel like Liz should have maybe used Peter as an outlet for her frustration. Liz has been going through so much crap, and Peter has been a terrible friend. He ditched her in Washington, and then he ditched her in Homecoming Dance, and then finally she sees Peter, who has been just such a dick throughout this entire movie.
I guess we're moving to Oregon.
The scene doesn't play out as a scene that would actually happen in real life. It feels like this scene just to make Peter kind of feel better about himself, like, yeah, you stopped the villain. So, honestly, you did a good job.
You know, I want to be mad, but I'm more worried. Like, what is going on with you?
I feel like the movie's trying to sell us that. The movie's saying that because you did this bad thing, it's okay because you did this good thing. And that's not how it works. It doesn't even itself out. You did a bad thing, you should be reprimanded for it.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it.
Cut the bullshit. I know you left detention.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I used to sneak out too. Yeah.
On Far From Home, there's a lot of things that I would have fixed, but the thing is that I would like to have footage and, watch the movie again. But there is one thing on Homecoming, Too Far From Home, that I would have changed, and that is that Aunt May never finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. Aunt May figuring out that Peter is Spider-Man is probably the worst decision they made in the first movie, and I think that they put it just because Kevin Feige wanted to have that scene in there because he liked it from the comics, but I think he kind of forgot the fact that that scene in the comics had a lot of build-up to it. It's a scene in which Peter is destroyed after a fight, and he's laying on his bed, his Spider-Man suit is thrown on the floor, and Aunt May finds it and she starts crying. Amazing, emotional scene, peak Spider-Man, it's diluted to a joke. Now, instead of there actually being consequences for Peter being Spider-Man because it's a dangerous thing, he's 15, now 16, he's just a kid. Aunt May is like, why are you going to Europe without your Spider-Man suit? Put it on, kid, you have to go and fight crime, you're Spider-Man. I don't care if you die. It's really scary and actually kind of hilarious how little of a shit Aunt May gives in these movies. And the one time she does care about Peter is that he was missing for like a day. And it's like, Peter has to hide the fact that he was Spider-Man, and Aunt May is like, oh, Peter, I didn't know you were kicked from the Stark internship. And then Far From Home, Aunt May's totally fine with Peter being Spider-Man. Where's the consequence? It's gone. What I did like about the movie is that it kind of plays with the comics, and Aunt May works at a homeless shelter, which I'm gonna call Feast for this entire time. Happy's gonna show off like a check for the shelter, and then Aunt May's all happy and Spider-Man's all happy. So what I would have done, and I think the movie should have actually done this, is that Aunt May doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man here. What would have made the scene even more hilarious, actually, is that since Aunt May doesn't know that Peter is Spider-Man, then when Happy goes in with the check and they start flirting, Peter is like, wait a second, and he can't say anything. He can't say, hey, Happy, stop flirting with my aunt, what you doing? He just has to awkwardly be in front of them as they flirt, and Happy will take any chance he can get to flirt. He doesn't care if Peter is Spider-Man. Actually, he'll probably take advantage of the fact that since Aunt May doesn't know Peter is Spider-Man, he'll just flirt away. And I feel like that would be a great comedic moment, and maybe Peter would have to stop the scene because he doesn't want Happy to flirt with Aunt May.
what just happened?
So in conclusion, I think the MCU Spider-Man is the closest interpretation to comic book Spider-Man we've gotten, but mostly only on the surface level. Adding financial and romantic pressure, which actually means something, will help the audience get invested even more into the character. And lastly, remember that actions have consequences. We have to make sure we feel the consequences. The audience shouldn't only be attaching themselves to Peter because, oh, he's so funny and awkward. We should also be understanding who the character is and relating to what the character goes through. And not just, oh, this guy has a crush on a girl, kind of like when I was young, but what about the rejection part? What about the acceptance part? We have to be able to relate with the character fully. Peter has to buy a lot of backpacks. What about the fact that he has to afford all those backpacks? Things like this are not only more authentic to the Peter Parker character, but also get the audience more invested in the Peter Parker character.
It's tough with Sony and Marvel Disney having all these legal problems, and if that wasn't an issue, this is what I would do with Spider-Man in the MCU. I've actually been thinking about what to call our fan base, and this has been a bit of a struggle for me because I keep wanting to make it like, the stools or the legs or the tables or something. Because, brownies is what you are if you're a patron. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but you're a brownie, goddammit. And so I was thinking, and in the last video, I said Chads.
Anyways, Chads, that was the video, and I hope you all enjoyed it.
And that gave me like an epiphany. What if I just call you guys Chads? And I kind of started thinking about it, and I don't know if any other YouTuber or any other content creator calls their fans Chads, but that's what you are now. You're a Chad. I love you. Chad. This sounds weird. I don't know if I like it. Well, let me know. As you can tell, my voice is dying, so I think this is gonna be the end of it. Yeah. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I have a Discord. I have a Reddit. The subreddit is great. Please send me memes. The Discord is great because sometimes I pop up there and sometimes we'll do game nights and stuff like that or live events, whatever. Of course, I have a Patreon. I actually have a Patreon, so if you want to support me there, please do. That'd be great. I love all my patrons. You guys are the sexiest people out there. I love you all so much. Thank you guys for supporting me. And lastly, I want to thank you, Chads. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe, share the video, hit the notification if you want to. And of course, if you like this video, remember to come back to the table.